Amazing! Truth revealed. Daughter chooses unexpected mother in heartwarming twist that transforms Jenna Thompson's life forever. Boxes littered the attic, each filled with fragments of a life she shared with her grandmother. Dust floated in the air, illuminated by a single flickering bulb. Around her, memories swirled like the dust, each piece a reminder of sacrifice. Lifting the lid of a battered box, Jenna felt a strange unease. What if the ghosts of her past haunted her dreams? Then she found the envelope, tattered and yellowed. As she opened it, her heart raced. Inside was a letter, written in elegant script. It wasn't just any letter. It was from her biological mother, an accomplished art professor, a woman who seemed worlds away from the waitress she had become. Jenna's pulse quickened. Images of a life not lived exploded in her mind. What if she'd had a mother like that? Talents whispered of in her blood, a future submerged in colors and canvases, waiting for her to dive in. Yet, with that potential lay the weight of betrayal. Hadn't her grandmother raised her with a firm hand, teaching her that family came first? A suffocating pressure welled up inside. How could she possibly pursue her dreams now, when every choice felt like a crushing blow to her family's legacy? Lily, her spirited 5-year-old daughter, needed her too. How could she dream of painting when the reality of dishes piled high and bills overdue crowded her thoughts? The tension escalated, darkening the corners of her mind. What if she failed? What if she dared to step into her mother's world only to get lost forever? Familiar faces in her small Midwestern town began to loom larger. A schoolmate's spiteful smirk, a neighbor's curious gaze. Each whisper cut like glass. Could she even dare to hope for acceptance? Taking a deep breath, Jenna clutched the letter tightly, feeling its edges dig into her skin, a harsh reminder of the rift that threatened to open between her past and present. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The wave of anxiety crashed over her anew, this time sharper. She had enrolled in the local art class, her heart pounding with conflicting desires as she turned up each day. Exploring her creative side, she lost herself amid a dance of colors and forms, a side of her she'd buried under pressure and obligations. Yet, with each brushstroke, there was also doubt, the gnawing fear that pursuing her passion might tear her away from the very people that had molded her into who she was. Would her grandmother's disappointment sever their bond? Would Lily feel abandoned as she chased after a mother she'd never known? Each class deepened her anguish, leaving her in turmoil. Then came the phone call. The voice on the other end was gentle yet firm, shaking the foundation she'd built. Her mother was reaching out. The weight of her existence lingered in every syllable, reminding Jenna of the shattered pieces left to assemble. This was no ordinary conversation. It was a reckoning. Sorting through her tangled emotions, Jenna stood on the precipice of a choice that could redefine her life. With tears threatening to spill, she pressed the phone closer, starving for answers, but terrified of what they might be. Would she embrace this unexpected legacy, or would she turn back to the safety of the past? A storm brewed inside her. Her future hung suspended, filled with uncertainty and possibility. Which legacy would she choose? Jenna stared at the phone in her hand, the world around her fading into a blur. The voice of the woman she had never known echoed in her mind, each word a step closer to the truth she had long avoided. They'd agreed to meet, a seemingly simple act that felt steeped in complexities. She had spent all night questioning her decision. How could she position herself between two mothers, two lives? Yet the promise of understanding and potentially unraveling the mysteries of her identity was too potent to ignore. As the days crept by, Jenna found solace in her art classes. Each meeting with fellow artisans ignited her passion and brought clarity. She watched others express their emotions on canvas, each stroke brimming with freedom, a freedom she had yet to fully embrace. Yet, alongside that inspiration loomed her self-imposed guilt. The thrill of creating battled with the nagging voice of her grandmother's teachings, and, more poignantly, her fear of disappointing Lily. Determined not to shy away from her responsibilities, Jenna planned a special weekend for her daughter as a distraction from her own internal turmoil. They would paint together, with splashes of color that spoke of joy, hope, and imagination. It was a comforting image, but deep down she felt a simmering unease. Would she be able to balance what was expected of her as a mother with who she yearned to be? The morning of her meeting with her biological mother arrived with an oppressive stillness. Jenna's palms slid nervously over the fabric of her worn jeans as she paced the small living room. Lily had gone to her grandmother's for the day, leaving Jenna alone with her swirling thoughts. She rehearsed her questions. How did her mother envision their relationship taking shape? Was there space for her to nurture this new connection while remaining the mother Lily deserved? 10 minutes before the agreed time, Jenna took a deep breath and decided to channel her anxiety into preparation. She reached for her brushes, rummaged for the colors she loved most, and began painting an abstract representation of her current emotional state. With each stroke, she noticed the tension in her shoulders unwind. Vivid swirls of orange, blue, and yellow blended beautifully on the canvas, reflecting both chaos and hope. But just as she finished, a spiral of doubt crept back in. What if this meeting ended in disappointment? What if her mother turned out to be someone unlovable? Or worse, someone who expected more from her than she could give? The restaurant they had chosen was quaint, filled with the aroma of coffee and pastries, a soft hum of conversations creating an intimate atmosphere. As she stepped through the threshold, Jenna felt her heart race. Her gaze searched for the woman whose artistry had once blossomed in the same DNA flowing through her veins. The moment their eyes met, Jenna could see the unraveling emotions within her mother, a mixture of anticipation, trepidation, and something else, something almost primal. The ghost of so many unanswered questions loomed larger than ever. "Jenna," the woman whispered, stepping forward. That single utterance held countless implications, but Jenna stood frozen, grappling with the enormity of her decision and the weight of the moment. Would she take a leap into the unknown, inviting a new mother into her life, or would she retreat back into the shadows of her past, forever pondering what could have been? As silence enveloped the two women, Jenna realized the time had come to face the truth she had long feared. The pivotal choice that remained would determine both their paths. But before the next syllable could escape her lips, a sudden chill swept through her. A new truth was waiting. Jenna finally found her voice, trembling yet resolute. "Hello." It felt like an invocation, a passageway into uncharted territory. The woman before her smiled, the warmth in her eyes contrasting sharply with the apprehension that clawed at Jenna's insides. They both stood at the precipice of a new reality, one neither had envisioned. "Thank you for meeting me." The woman's words were sincere, but Jenna couldn't help but scrutinize her tone, searching for hidden agendas. There had to be more behind this encounter than simple curiosity. Jenna felt like a dueling artist, trying to paint the complexities of this moment while struggling with the brushstrokes of her past. "I don't even know what to say," Jenna admitted, her unease spilling over into vulnerability. Realizing it was important to reclaim some control of the conversation, she decided to confront her underlying fears directly. "What do you want from me?" The mother's expression shifted. A flicker of indecision crossed her face. "I just want to know you," she replied, her voice soft but steady. The simplicity of the answer hung in the air like an unanswered question. Was the request genuine, or were there strings attached that Jenna had yet to understand? Jenna hesitated, caught between wanting to push her away and an instinctual pull toward acceptance. Looking into her mother's eyes, she wondered how much of herself resided in that gaze, how much was inherited. But associating herself with this woman felt as if she were tiptoeing around a landmine. "I've lived my life trying to figure things out without you," Jenna challenged, her voice steadying. "Why would you suddenly want to build a relationship now?" The air thickened with tension. It was a question Jenna needed answered for her own peace of mind, and yet, as the words left her mouth, a wave of regret washed over her. She didn't want to come off as hostile, but the depth of her hurt demanded recognition. "Because I didn't know how," her mother said, the truth stark in its resonance. "I was young, scared, and I made mistakes. But it has haunted me every day since. I just want a chance to show you who I really am." Jenna felt a crack form in her defensive armor. The acknowledgement of shared humanity between them disarmed her. A part of her longed to respond, to embrace the potential for forgiveness and connection, yet fear restrained her. Forgiving meant facing old wounds. "Who are you, then?" Jenna's voice softened, the fight dissipating as curiosity crept in. "I'm trying to be the person I should have always been, someone you could have relied on. Not just your mother, but your support, your friend." Her mother's honesty was almost suffocating. For the first time in years, Jenna felt a flicker of hope, a thread that connected to possibility. Yet the reluctance persisted within her, the fear that moving forward might move away from the life she had painstakingly built around her daughter. Suddenly, a thought struck her. This was not just about her mother. It was also about Jenna's own choices, her own willingness to evolve. Could certain truths coexist without dismantling the fabric of their lives? The question lingered heavily between them, and the moment hung like another masterpiece waiting to be painted. Jenna's heart raced again, not out of fear, but anticipation. "I need time," she finally managed. "This isn't something I can just jump into." Her mother nodded, understanding the magnitude of Jenna's hesitance. "I can wait," she replied softly. "Just let me be a part of your journey, whatever it looks like." Jenna wanted to believe her, but the prospect of her life shifting so dramatically filled her with unease. Would she find the courage to redefine what a mother meant? Or would this be another tangled thread in her already complicated life? As Jenna stepped back, the walls around her heart had begun to crack. But the new truth was an unsettling one, revealing questions more than answers. If she wanted to move forward, she would need to examine the tapestry of her existence and determine what colors to weave together. And as she thought about her daughter waiting back of her grandmother's, Jenna felt the weight of realization. Stepping into this new reality could unlock potential she hadn't even recognized in herself. What did she have to lose? And what did she stand to gain? The moment felt ripe with possibilities, yet Jenna knew she would have to confront many walls before unraveling the full story of who she was destined to become. With her heart racing, she wondered if Lily would stand beside her through the ensuing tempest of change. Their paths were intertwined, but for how long? Would Jenna summon the resolve to forge ahead, or would fear tighten its grasp once more? Jenna walked away from the meeting with her mother, a cacophony of thoughts spiraling in her mind. The street seemed different, more vibrant, as if infused with energy she hadn't noticed before. Yet the excitement felt heavy with uncertainty. Every step she took was infused with a newfound awareness of herself, of possibilities, and of the delicate threads that now connected her to a woman she barely knew. Her encounter felt transformative, a catalyst for change, though the direction of that change remained unclear. Seeking clarity, she decided to retreat to her favorite cafe, a small place tucked away in the heart of the city. It had always been her refuge, where she could gather her thoughts over a cup of strong coffee. Sitting at a corner table, she rubbed her palms against the smooth surface, grounding herself as she took a deep breath. The bustle of the cafe surrounded her, people bustling and laughter echoing, while Jenna maintained a tranquil demeanor amidst the internal storm. Each sip of coffee felt like a decision, each jolt of caffeine sparking a revelation within her. She took out her notebook, its pages filled with thoughts and sketches both mundane and profound. This moment was about more than reconciling with her mother. It was about Jenna reclaiming her sense of self. What did she want? The question loomed large, compelling her to confront her deepest desires and fears. Did she want a relationship with her mother? Could she allow herself that openness without losing the carefully constructed identity she had built over the years? As she wrote, she couldn't help but acknowledge her professional life. She had always poured herself into her work as a means of survival and growth. What if this journey could allow her to grow further in her profession? Jenna felt that she had been holding back, afraid that any emotional vulnerability would jeopardize her ambition. But the act of creating in both her personal life and her career was one and the same, layered, authentic, and interconnected. Her pen skated across the page, recording how she had always been the architect of her own paths, whether building her career or navigating relationships. Stepping into her truth meant embracing change, which was inherently chaotic. Yet transformation promised growth, something she craved intensely. Reflecting deeper, she thought about her daughter, Lily. Would her evolving relationship with her mother improve the kind of mother Jenna was to her? The very act of confronting both the task and the potential for connection could instill strength in her parenting, empowering Lily to embrace the messy complexities of life. These realizations danced with clarity, pushing Jenna to affirm her commitment to self-discovery. A notion sparked within her. What if she could channel this evolution into her work? A bold idea began to crystallize, a project that intertwined her personal experiences with her professional skills. She could develop a platform for storytelling where voices like hers could emerge. People showcasing their journeys, fraught as they might be, could help forge unexpected connections. In opening discussions about familial ties and personal growth, she envisioned a movement that resonated with many seeking similar paths. As she put pen to paper, she felt the pulse of ambition intertwined with a growing sense of acceptance. Each word she wrote seemed to untangle knots deep within her. She could do this. She could initiate a conversation that would help not only herself, but others, reclaiming their narratives and finding power in vulnerability. Jenna looked up from her notes, realizing that time had slipped away. The sun had begun to set, casting a warm glow that felt like a benediction on her decisions. With a determined resolve, she headed to her phone, fingers trembling slightly as she scrolled through her contacts. She paused before calling Lily's grandmother to discuss her plans. She needed to share her thoughts, to lay a foundation for change, however rocky it might be. But before pressing dial, Jenna took a moment to breathe, feeling the ripple of consequences swirling. Change would revamp everything she knew about herself, her relationships, and the legacy she wished to impart to her daughter. What if Lily didn't react well? Would confronting her mother's absence and its implications frighten her kid? Jenna hesitated, a sudden wave of doubt casting a shadow on her vision. The question echoed in her mind. Was she ready to share not only her ambitions but her uncertainties with her daughter? Would Lily understand the value of vulnerability, or would it only create anxiety? The clock ticked, and Jenna knew she had a choice to make, one that could either tether her closer to her past or liberate her from it. Taking one last deep breath, she prepared to face the truth she had only glimpsed. The threads of connection were intertwined, but were they strong enough to hold? With her heart racing, she pressed the call button. Would this moment of unveiling change everything for them both, or would it shatter the budding threads of understanding? Jenna's heart thudded in her chest as she listened to the ringing tone on the other end. It felt as if the world had slowed, the cafe's sounds blurring into a distorted hum. She struggled to maintain her breath, catching herself before drowning in doubt again. This was more than just a call. It was an inflection point, a revelation that could leave deep marks on both her and Lily. "Hello?" Lily's grandmother's voice came through. "Hi, it's Jenna," she managed, her voice almost foreign to her own ears. "I've been thinking about some changes I want to make, and I feel I should talk to you about them." As she spoke, The weight of her words settled around her like a heavy cloak. Jenna laid out her thoughts, her vision for opening up to her mother, the layers of vulnerability that made her both anxious and excited. The conversation flowed easier than she anticipated, revealing the intricate threads woven through her life from childhood to motherhood. "What you're thinking sounds promising," her mother-in-law said, pausing as if weighing each word. "But you need to be careful. Vulnerability can be a double-edged sword." Her grandmother's caution sprang from love, and it resonated deeply with Jenna, echoing the internal fears she had tried to mute. The thoughts that followed felt like shards of glass. They glimmered, but cut at the same time. Would she really be ready to risk the comfort of distance for the chance of connection? Jenna nodded to herself, even though she was miles away from her. "I know. I want to speak with Lily about her grandmother, to better understand her and how that affects us." There was a brief pause. Jenna felt the silence thickening. A second stretched into minutes as the old wounds resurfaced. The potential upheaval loomed in front of her like a storm. But a part of her fiercely yearned for the outcome that could emerge on the other side. "I think it's brave," her grandmother finally said, gently coaxing Jenna to unpack her apprehensions. "But you must ask yourself, is it worth it if things don't go as planned?" The edge of uncertainty hung in the air, swirling with possibility. Jenna's mind raced through scenarios. What if revealing these vulnerabilities disrupted the love they had in their family? On the contrary, could it create a more authentic bond between her and Lily? One marked not by fear of judgment, but by an understanding of life's complex realities? "Whatever happens, Jenna," her grandmother added, "you're not alone. Just be honest with her and yourself. Don't shy away from being vulnerable. It could be the key to forging deeper connections." Jenna chose to believe in this possibility, convinced it could unearth something beautiful even in its raw state. As her confidence began to build, she considered her growth. It was no longer merely about her efforts to reach out to her mother. This was about teaching her daughter what it meant to confront and navigate the complexities of love, family, and the stark reality that life is rarely perfect. The topic shifted from personal ambition to the true essence of storytelling, connecting through shared pain, love, and the lessons learned along the way. Jenna's resolve began to swell as she hung up. She would harness her fears into a creative force. "Real life needs real stories," she whispered to herself, one that would carry her truth into the world, inviting others to do the same. As she delved into her notes again, imagining the layout of her project and its potential for impact, the urgency of her vision surged. It was an invitation to others to share their narratives, an idea infused with the promise of liberation. The excitement oscillated alongside concern as she pondered the possible reactions from both her family and her audience. With her heart set aflame by the potential for connection, Jenna flipped the pages, struggling to articulate her thoughts. But an unsettling fear gnawed at her. Was she even ready for this level of exposure in her professional life? Could she handle both the vulnerability and the public scrutiny to come? Just as clarity began to emerge, her phone buzzed with a text from Lily, urging Jenna to meet after school to discuss something important. Jenna's breath caught. Was the universe nudging her toward a moment of pivotal honesty? Would Lily be receptive to the openness Jenna sought to cultivate? As Jenna's pulse quickened, the uncertainty loomed larger than before. The moment had arrived. Would she seize this opportunity to weave the threads of vulnerability into their relationship, or would she falter under the weight of her fears? Steeling herself, she glanced again at her notes, determination washing over her. It was time to confront the truth about her relationship with her mother, her daughter, and ultimately herself. Jenna sat in her living room, the weight of the moment pressing down on her like a cloak. She had prepared herself for this conversation with Lily, mentally rehearsing what she would say as she left her notes scattered across the coffee table. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of anxiety and anticipation. Would Lily understand? Would she be open to discussing their family dynamics? Or would the groundwork Jenna intended to lay crumble before her very eyes? The minutes dragged until the sound of a key turning in the lock broke the stillness. As Lily stepped inside, a blend of curiosity and uncertainty danced across her face. There was something unspoken between them, a recognition of the shift that had been set in motion. "Hey, Mom," Lily said, her voice tinged with hesitation. "What did you want to talk about?" Jenna took a deep breath, her chest tightening with both fear and determination. Now was the time to transform her thoughts into action. "I've been reflecting on some things about our family, and I think it's important to share them with you." Just saying it aloud felt liberating, but now that the door was open, how would she step through? Images of past conversations tumbled in her mind. Arguments, misunderstandings, moments of joy and deep sorrow. Memories that echoed the lessons learned and the bonds strained over time. Lily settled onto the couch and stared at her mother, waiting for her to continue. Jenna could see the flicker of concern in her daughter's eyes, the same concern she had felt just moments before the call to her mother-in-law. The vulnerability Jenna was about to expose felt unnerving, yet it promised the potential for growth. "Mom, is this about Grandma?" Lily asked, her voice breaking through the tension. "It is. I think it's crucial we talk about our relationship with her," Jenna replied, leaning forward. "I want to explore how that impacts us, especially as we move forward. I've realized I need to understand those connections better." The innocence of childhood rarely prepares one for the complexities of adult relationships, and Jenna felt the gravity of her words hang heavily in the air. Would this recognition of shared pain bring them closer, or reveal rifts that were too large to bridge? Lily furrowed her brow, a glance of confusion in her eyes. "Why now? I mean, we've always been okay, right?" "That's just it, Lily." Jenna took another breath, the urgency swelling within her. "I think we've been okay because we haven't fully faced the things that hurt us. I need you to know that it's okay to be vulnerable, to be real with each other." Surprise flickered across Lily's face, but with it came a hint of familiarity. Mother and daughter had been through so much in silence. Jenna could see how her words began to resonate. It required courage to face them together, but equally important was the truth they held. "What are you scared of?" Lily asked, her voice softening. "I'm scared it could change everything," Jenna admitted, her heart racing. "But I also believe it could lead to something better, more authentic. I want us to be able to talk openly about everything, including the difficult things. Life isn't perfect, and neither are we." As Jenna spoke, she recognized that every word she chose carried a weight of newfound strength. In embracing her vulnerability, she began to weave a thread of hope, one that could not only bind her and Lily closer together, but serve as a beacon of solace and understanding. "Mom, I get it," Lily said, her expression shifting. "If we can be honest, we can get through anything, but it's scary." The recognition of their shared fears created solidarity. They were not alone after all. Jenna felt a swell of relief mixed with empowerment. Navigating through life's challenges wasn't about shying away from insecurities, but navigating through them together. That was the essence of authentic connection. Jenna took Lily's hands in hers, an unspoken promise binding them in this newfound understanding. "Will you help me? Let's figure this out together." The glimmer of a smile broke through Lily's worry, and for the first time, Jenna caught a glimpse of the bridge they could build, one that could lovingly strengthen generations of connection. Just as the moment was beginning to blossom, Lily's phone buzzed on the table, cutting through the atmosphere of contemplation. The unexpected message brought them back to reality with a jolt. Jenna's heart fluttered at the thought of their conversation being interrupted, but for the first time, she felt ready. "Who's that?" Jenna asked, already sensing this sudden shift in mood. Lily's expression changed from open curiosity to one of guarded apprehension. "It's just my friend, but—" Just then, Jenna's phone chimed with a notification, too. She glanced down and paused, the sense of urgency returning. The moment had felt monumental, yet now a new chapter was tugging insistently at her focus. Something important awaited both mother and daughter, and she couldn't shake the feeling that it could alter the course of their unfolding narrative. "Let's finish this first," Lily urged, intertwining their hands more tightly. Jenna took one last glance at the notification, wondering if it would guide her steps deeper into vulnerability or further away. As the walls began to resonate with their shared resolve, she realized they were standing on the threshold of discovery together, and the time for confrontation was upon them. Jenna inhaled sharply, the buzz from the notifications echoing in the background like a drumbeat heralding uncertainty. She could feel her resolve waver for just a moment, but then she locked eyes with Lily. The shared intensity transformed her anxiety into something that felt almost like power, a determination to confront whatever was waiting just beyond this moment. "Let's take a step back for a second," Jenna suggested, her voice steadier than she felt. "If there's anything we need to confront or understand, we have to be present for each other. Those texts can wait." Lily nodded slowly, still holding on to Jenna's hands as if that simple connection could safeguard them against the unknown. "Okay, you're right. Just promise me we'll get through this together." There it was, the essence of their conversation. Trust. Jenna felt a tender pull in her chest, allowing her instinct to guide her through this vulnerable moment. "I promise," she replied, squeezing Lily's hands tighter. "What did you learn about Grandma that made you want to talk about her?" Lily's voice was soft, yet strained with anticipation, as if she feared the stories could fracture the shell of peace they had maintained. Jenna paused, searching for the best way to articulate the complexity of her emotions. "I realized that part of my life and part of your life is shaped by words left unspoken, things we didn't discuss or understand. When Grandma was diagnosed with her illness, it forced me to confront my feelings about her, about us. It was a catalyst, a wake-up call." As Jenna spoke, a flurry of inner reflection washed over her. The fear of loss combined with the weight of unaddressed feelings churned inside her like a storm. Her voice wavered, but she pressed on. "I think it's easy to let those feelings fester. That's what worries me, for you, for us. I don't want this to happen to you, not your relationships, not your heart." Lily's gaze softened, the tension in her brow easing slightly. "So you want us to talk about everything?" "Exactly," Jenna replied, the words flowing more freely now. "Everything. I want to understand her, and in turn, perhaps understand myself better. Maybe even prepare for all those complexities that come with being family. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts." Caught between fear and curiosity, Lily took a deep breath, her expression quizzical yet open. "I guess I never thought about it like that. I don't know how to begin." "I understand that. Start wherever you feel comfortable," Jenna encouraged. A surge of hope filled her as she realized her daughter had stepped closer to the edge of self-exploration too. What Jenna couldn't express was how high the stakes felt. If they opened this door together, it could lead to healing, but what if it shattered everything instead? The uncertainty lingered, a quiet war waging within her. Then, almost instinctively, Jenna recalled a childhood memory. "When I was your age, I felt afraid to talk about what hurt me or confused me. I thought silence equaled strength, but it only clouded my relationships with doubt. I believe we can break that cycle." Lily absorbed the wisdom, her head tilting slightly. "You're saying I can learn something from Grandma's mistakes, if we talk about it?" "Exactly." Hope blossomed in Jenna's heart. "And not just Grandma's mistakes. It's about understanding all that we've been through and learning to break free from the ghosts of our past." They both leaned closer, a silent agreement forming in the space between their synchronized breaths. Just then, another vibration broke the stillness, sharper this time. Lily's phone had buzzed again, but she ignored it, her focus solely on her mother. "Mom, what if talking about Grandma isn't just about the past? What if there's something valuable we still need from her? There it was, a light bulb moment. What do you mean? Jenna asked carefully, feeling the tension shift again. What if we discover she has lessons to teach us now, how to navigate our own lives? Jenna's heart raced at the possibility. This wasn't just an exercise in vulnerability. It could lead to an entirely new perspective on their family. What if there were lessons wrapped in the complexities that they had yet to unravel? A solid determination ignited in Jenna. Then we'll figure it out together, layer by layer. We'll face both the beauty and the pain. As a new understanding settled in, the atmosphere crackled with energy. Jenna found herself at the crossroads of self-discovery, feeling as if they were about to embark on a journey unlike any other. But just as the newfound clarity began to bloom, there was a heavy knock on the door that slammed into their intimate moment like a thunderclap. It startled both of them, visceral and raw, bringing with it a chill of uncertainty. "Who could that be?" Lily asked, squinting toward the door. Jenna's heart sank. "I don't know, but we can't let this disrupt our conversation. We need to stay focused." As she made her way toward the door, the anticipation of what lay beyond it sent a cascade of dread down her spine. The profound shift they had started to create together now hung in a precarious balance, teetering on the edge of revelation. Could the truth waiting beyond the door alter everything Jenna was beginning to unlock in her and Lily's relationship? The moment of truth loomed just out of reach. Jenna opened the door slowly, heart pounding with apprehension. The late afternoon sun spilled into the room, illuminating a figure standing on the threshold. It was her estranged sister, Michelle. A tempest of emotions surged within Jenna: shock, anger, and, dare she even consider it, hope? The small, tentative smile on Michelle's face was nearly lost in the shadows of unspoken regrets. "Hey, Jenna," Michelle said, her voice trembling slightly. "Can we talk?" The words hung in the air like thick mist, and Jenna's instinct was to slam the door. This was not the time for unresolved family drama. They had just begun to unearth layers of truth together. But as she stood there, she felt Lily's presence behind her, a reminder of her commitment to openness, to facing the past consequences of their family's silence. Sure," Jenna finally replied, her voice a harsh whisper as she stepped aside. The moment felt surreal. The tension between them had brewed over years, and now here they were, sharing a space so charged with history it could explode at any moment. Lily, ever the curious observer, shuffled to Jenna's side. There was a flicker of recognition on Michelle's face, a complex shift of emotions that Jenna couldn't place: fear, guilt, or perhaps a flicker of pride that Lily had grown so strong despite the family fractures. "Please, come in," she gestured. "After everything, we need to set the stage." Jenna's throat tightened with unshed words, but she pressed forward. "We were just talking about Grandma and how her life choices affected us. What brings you back now?" Michelle hesitated and glanced down at the floor, gathering her thoughts as if they were lifelines tossed in turbulent waters. "I've been thinking a lot about Mom since she got sick. It's hard to ignore the past, especially with everything that's happening." "Thinking or running away?" Jenna challenged, a sharp edge creeping into her voice. "Honestly, a bit of both." Michelle's shoulders slumped, her earlier bravado dissipating. "I didn't want to face it, but it was always there, lingering like a shadow over me. I kept thinking about all the things we never resolved." That revelation was a cold breeze against Jenna's skin. "Why now?" she pressed, desperate for clarity. "Because I realized that avoiding those conversations only adds to the sorrow. I don't want this to be our legacy. I need to own my mistakes and try to make amends." The vulnerability in Michelle's voice was undeniable, and Jenna felt her resolve rut deeper into the muck of history. Are you willing to talk about things? To confront what happened? Jenna's question slipped out, unfiltered, a taut asking that hung heavily in the air. Suddenly, dread filled the space between them. Not just Jenna, but now Lily's gaze flickered with uncertainty. The deep-rooted hurt in their shared family narratives churned around them, the hidden lessons still waiting to release their grasp as truths begged to become known. "I want," Michelle whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But it's not just about my regrets. I know they have affected you too, and I hoped if I could come back, we could talk and try to understand it all." Jenna felt a strange weight settle in her chest. The idea of diving into all those uncomfortable conversations was daunting, yet it was also liberating. "All right," Jenna managed, her heart racing. "But if we do this, we do it right. We don't skim the surface. We peel back layers. No more running. We need to break the cycle." Michelle nodded slowly, her determination mirroring Jenna's. Jenna turned to Lily, expecting uncertainty in her daughter's eyes, but found a flicker of encouragement instead. Together, they faced the ghost of their family's history, and that looming darkness no longer felt like a weight holding them down, but rather a call to uncover hidden pathways toward healing. Just as a fragile bond began to weave between them, the familiar buzzing cut through again, sharper this time. Lily's phone lit up with dozens of notifications. This time, Jenna felt a surge of irritation collide with the anticipation of their newfound dialogue. "Maybe we should ignore that," Jenna started. "No," Lily interjected, a newfound confidence filling her tone. "Maybe we should learn to manage the distractions. We can do both." The challenge hung in the air like a dare, a decision suddenly unfolding with stark significance. Could they really balance family connection with external pressures? Or would these unresolved messages ultimately sever their budding understanding? The door had swung open, revealing a multitude of directions. Confrontation, connection, and discovery all awaited. And as thoughts collided, the choice loomed ahead, tense yet alive, ready to redefine family for them all. Jenna forced her attention back to Michelle, wrestling with the intrusion of Lily's buzzing phone. It was a reminder that their reality stretched beyond this moment, beyond this fragile reconnection. Still, curiosity piqued in Jenna, and she felt the weight of the decision. There was urgency in the air, a sharpening of focus that demanded she act. "Okay," Jenna said, taking a deep breath. "If we're going to do this, let's create a structure. Each of us can share something we've been holding on to. Pain, regrets, whatever it is." As soon as the words left her mouth, Jenna felt the magnitude of her own proposition. She was outlining a process that could either bind them together or tear them apart. Michelle's breath hitched. "You mean share our deepest truths?" "Yes, and maybe even what we haven't addressed about our mother." Jenna recognized an underlying pull, a desire to quantify the grief they'd held for so long. For some reason, she found herself deeply invested in this approach. This was more than dialoguing. It was ritualistic, an opportunity for healing. Lily's eyes flickered between them, apprehension and eagerness mingling on her face. Jenna realized that her daughter was staring at the cross-section of their family's history, a narrative still unwritten and waiting for resolution. Michelle's smile had faded, overtaken by a shadow of anxiety. "All right, I'll go first," she said slowly, as if each word were a delicate fragment, prone to shatter under pressure. "I guess what I've wanted to say is that I regretted how I left. I thought distancing myself would protect me from the chaos, but it only amplified my feelings of isolation. I'm ashamed that I chose to run instead of confront, especially with Mom's struggles." Jenna felt a pang in her heart. Michelle's admission was the type of raw honesty that had always eluded them. It felt like the first chisel striking moldy stone. Something was breaking. "That must have been lonely," Jenna offered, a hint of compassion threading through her voice. "You felt you had to protect yourself, but it came at the cost of our relationship." There was a long pause before Michelle nodded, her face slightly contorting in unbidden emotion. I thought it'd be easier, but I just kept pretending it was okay. Jenna hesitated, her own layers unspooling in response. I get that. I was the one who stayed behind and tried to fix everything. I thought my role was to carry the burden, but instead I just walked around feeling resentful, trapped in a cycle of caretaker and chaos. I wish I had the courage to express that sooner. The room seemed to close in, yet light flickered between them, a fragile thread knitting their narratives together. Yet Jenna realized this wasn't merely about the past, it beckoned her future too. Would she maintain this newfound honesty? Would she confront elements of her professional life, her very sense of self that felt stifled by familial obligations? Breathless anticipation hung, the vulnerability shedding layers on both sides. Then Lily interjected, her voice steady and clear. Mom, you've done so much for us, but you're allowed to evolve too. You don't always have to be the rock, you know? Each syllable carried a weight Jenna had overlooked. Could she afford to redefine herself, not only as a daughter and a mother, but as an individual carving her own path? As thoughts tangled in her mind, she noticed Michelle's gaze turn inquisitive. What about you, Jenna? What holds you back from going after what you truly want? That question sliced through Jenna with unexpected clarity. She had skirted around those ambitions, silenced by the consequences of keeping family harmony. I've been working through that, Jenna admitted, the truth spilling out like ink across a canvas. I've been so caught up in being this person who supports everyone else, I forgot who I could be outside of that. A moment of silence enveloped them as they absorbed each other's truths, their vulnerabilities laid bare. Yet Jenna could feel a new strength rising within her, a clarity that was not merely reflective but richly proactive. Suddenly, potential unfurled amidst uncertainty. She could redefine her narrative, think beyond expectations, and acknowledge her professional aspirations that had for so long lain dormant. Just then, Lily's phone buzzed again, a relentless reminder of a world beyond their walls waiting to beckon. But this time, the notifications felt like external noise barely pulling her attention. Maybe it's time we learn to embrace both, Jenna said, clenching her fist slightly, a budding determination illuminating her. We weave our lives among the chaos. We confront it instead of running. We can navigate toward not only rebuilding relationships, but also reclaiming our paths. The resolve thrumming in her chest was palpable, defying introspection with action. But just as the air tasted of new beginnings, Jenna's phone lit up, her own employer's call waiting for her, like a shadow flitting back to claim her attention. She hesitated. Could she turn from this moment of revelation back to a past self? Or was this calling a chance to cement her growth, to answer both familial and professional expectations with authenticity? A decision was within reach, and Jenna sensed how this next choice might echo across their threads of connection. Could she rise to meet both demands without forfeiting her voice? The crossroads loomed, potent and unresolved, demanding her answer. Jenna stood at the precipice of change, her phone vibrating in her hand, demanding her attention, even as the moment she'd yearned for wrapped around her like a warm embrace. Time hung suspended. Her life was like fresh canvas, yet the weight of her choices pressed heavily on her shoulders. "Do I answer?" she asked, a flicker of uncertainty etching across her face. Her gaze flitted between her sister, Lily, and the buzzing phone, a stark reminder of responsibilities that had never felt like a choice before. "Mom, it's okay," Lily urged softly, the wisdom of a child piercing Jenna's internal storm. "You can handle both. We can find a way to juggle everything together." With newfound strength coursing through her, Jenna placed her phone on the table, silencing the vibrations. She turned back to Michelle and Lily, feeling an urgency that was both daunting and invigorating. This was more than a conversation. It was an opportunity to redefine the narrative of family, legacy, and self. "Okay, here's what I choose," Jenna began, her voice steady and resonant with conviction. "I'm ready to embrace transformation. It's time we cultivate an environment where we all feel safe to share our truths. But this means we must commit, the three of us, to be honest with ourselves and each other." Michelle and Lily exchanged glances, a mix of determination and trepidation imbuing the room. Jenna felt a wave of relief wash over her. This was no longer just about claiming her own identity, but building a foundation for their collective future. She had witnessed enough of the burdens carried in silence. If she truly wanted to break the cycle, the time was now. "Let's take turns," she suggested. "We can each share a part of our story and what we envision for ourselves moving forward, the good, the bad, and the aspirations, because I want all three of us to evolve together." As daughter and sister nodded in agreement, Jenna took a deep breath and prepared to lay bare her convictions. "To be honest, I've spent so long being defined by my roles, mother, daughter, caretaker, but not as an individual. I want to reclaim my passions, to return to art, not just as a hobby, but as a means for personal expression and maybe even a career." A corner of Michelle's mouth twitched up in surprise, a glimmer of pride at her sister's ambition pulsing evident in her eyes. "That's amazing, Jenna." Lily beamed, her youthful spirit igniting a fire within Jenna. "Mom, that would be so cool. You should totally do it." Encouraged by their support, Jenna pressed on. "I see the potential for something deeper, for creating a space where we can come together to share our experiences, our stories, our struggles, a platform where others can express themselves authentically, just as I'm trying to do." As each word left her lips, Jenna felt her identity transform. The fear that had once wrapped around her like a tight cocoon began to dissolve. What she envisioned had become a thread woven into the fabric of her family's story, a chance to unite their legacies under one overarching theme: authenticity. Lily tilted her head, her expression contemplative. "Wouldn't that be scary, telling everyone our stories?" "Absolutely," Jenna responded, a serious glint in her eyes. "And that's okay. Our stories make us beautifully human. It's through vulnerability that we discover connections, and when we uncover our difficulties, we find strength." Tears glistened in Michelle's eyes as she stepped forward. "I've buried my regrets for too long, debating whether I could confront the truth of my own narrative." "It's about time we all acknowledge what we've hidden," Jenna said, her voice unwavering. "Only then can we truly connect." After what felt like an eternity of silence, Michelle took a deep breath. "I want to share my story too. I've been living in avoidance, but like you, Jenna, I want to begin building bridges, not walls." A tidal wave of emotion washed over Jenna, each word laced with an authenticity she had yet to experience with her sister. This marked the start of an evolution, both for herself and their family. She watched her sister open up, the gradual unfolding of emotions illuminating the room like vibrant strokes on canvas. "I've often felt overshadowed by Mom," Michelle began, "and instead of confronting it, I slipped away. I wanted to be my own person, but ran away because I feared the connections we should have forged. And now I realize that avoiding them hasn't protected me at all." Jenna's throat tightened with understanding. The struggles were tangible, and now, together, they bore witness. The honesty spilling forth, forging a new path forward. "I'm sorry for stepping away when you needed support," Michelle added, vulnerability crackling in the air. As love whispered between them, Jenna recognized the strength that blossomed in their shared stories. Silence no longer had to be the rule. The uncomfortable yet transformative conversations could be liberating. "Let's help each other grow," Jenna asserted, her confidence fortified. "Let's honor what we've been through and actively shape how we move forward. We can't change the past, but we can inspire each other to embrace our future." A collective agreement lingered in the air as they finally began to open the door to honest dialogue, a door that had been long shut. The moment was epic, both grounding and uplifting. "Together, we can create something amazing," Jenna concluded, "something inspired by the truth that we share, a tapestry woven with authenticity and love." Jenna's heart swelled as she embraced the profound realization that she was not just confronting her family's past, but finally stepping boldly into the vibrant life she was meant to lead. A life full of creativity, potential, and connection. With their hearts synchronized and a newly forged bond of trust, the three women set off on this journey where revelation would uplift what had once been concealed. Remember, this is a moment of enlightenment, a call to transformation. A nurturing embrace of vulnerability has the power to unite and elevate family dynamics, threading lives beautifully together, not just in obligation, but through shared passion and growth. Now it's time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support more uplifting content. Comment below your reactions and theories about this transformative conclusion. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see and embrace the power of transformation. This is the moment to show your support for stories that inspire and empower. Don't wait even one more second to share.